What's up, everybody? It's your boy Scummy Rebel here, and I've been playing the newest entry into the Far Cry series, Far Cry New Dawn. Now, it's not a full-fledged title, yet too big to be mere DLC. Similar to Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, this is a standalone title, so you don't need Far Cry 5 to play this game. However, being, I don't know what the term would be, standalone DLC? Half a game? Well, whatever it is, it's only 40 bucks, similar to Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, and surprisingly, I think it's good. Well, that's not too surprising. I should have said, surprisingly, it's better than Far Cry 5. It's sort of a sequel, so spoilers! There are nukes dropped at the end of Far Cry 5, and this game takes place after, in a nuclear apocalypse. So without further ado, this is Rebel Reviews, Fallout New Dawn, Far Cry New Vegas, Horizon Zero New Dawn, oh my god, Far Cry New Dawn.
Drank beer, liked beer, still like beer.
Okay, Far Cry New Dawn. It takes place in Hope County, Montana, same as Far Cry 5, but it only uses just over 2/3 of the map maybe, and everything on the map is different. Well, some structures remain, but most locations have been transformed. It's got basically the same gunplay as Far Cry 5, but most of the guns have a new look similar to the guns in Fallout. There's also a saw gun which shoots table saw blades that ricochet around. They can be pretty sweet. There is a story, and it isn't terrible. It's short. It's much better of a story than Far Cry 5's main story, at least in my opinion. The outposts are very similar, but there is a new mode called Expeditions, and that's actually one of my favorite things that they added. If you've played a Far Cry game before, the formula remains the same. However, they did a lot to add more replay value to this game, while there is, in substance, less here. This game gets more right than I was expecting it to. Far Cry 5 really disappointed me, and I wasn't making videos back when that game came out, but what I had to say about that game was so thought out, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start a channel. But anyways, as best as I can remember, everything I had an issue with Far Cry 5 was alleviated in this game. And I'll get to what all of that was towards the end. Also, this game feels like a hodgepodge of different games, and it is quite interesting. Of course, there's the Fallout similarities, of course, the Rage 2 similarities, but also some heavy tones of Horizon Zero Dawn. So first things first, the story. And in this game, it does have a story. Now, the Achilles heel of any Far Cry game tends to be the story. I'd like to say the gameplay is its bread and butter, but then you basically have buttered bread as a meal, and that doesn't seem too filling. So with all Far Cry stories, something happens, then you're stuck somewhere left to fend for yourself against some crazy villain who is spreading chaos for what seems to be simply the sake of chaos. No multifaceted villains here, no sir. This is basically your basic Far Cry story. You may need to have played Far Cry 5 to understand who the followers of Eden are and the Rise, but besides that, it's pretty self-explanatory. Nothing game-changing if you missed out on 5, but nothing fresh like how Voss seemed to be. So it's nothing special, but it did surprise me. I was expecting it to be bad, like really bad, but it wasn't. It was decent. It's one of those things I think was a big improvement upon Far Cry 5. 5's story was confusing with the brainwashing, with the little music box and the bliss visions. It got repetitive and played out. A lot of the main missions in this game are more unique than what was in 5. 5's story, with the exception of the ending, which was awesome in my opinion, the main story was not good. So I was expecting this one to be just as bad, but it wasn't. It's not bad. Then you have the case of the ending. Now 5's ending was the best ending to a Far Cry game that we've seen. The ending here is just a conclusion, but there is the final boss. I won't spoil anything, but the final boss battle wasn't bad either. I was expecting it to be kind of dumb, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. It wasn't a great final boss, and it wasn't a great story, but they weren't bad. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Next up, gameplay. So the gameplay in this game is basically the same as all other Far Cries. You clear the outposts, you kill the enemies, you loot places. Now the scout, plan, execute style still works. No need to change that. But there was always the issue of resetting outposts. there was never any incentive to. But now there is. Once you clear an outpost, you can salvage that outpost for more ethanol and abandon it. Ethanol is what you use to upgrade all of the things that you can do in your base and stuff like that. Anyways, so once you clear it, the enemies come back, but with even more enemies and stronger ones. This made the amount of outposts seem like a lot more than it was, since you can redo them once when you get better weapons, and then again once you get even better weapons. So big improvement on the outpost. The gunplay is the same. There aren't too many new guns, but they're all different than they looked before, more post-apocalyptic. But yeah, gunplay is solid, and a new feature they added are expeditions, which take you out of Hope County to somewhere else in the world. This really helped the issue of the locations being boring in Far Cry 5. Now I'm sorry, a tropical island? Awesome. The Himalayas? Awesome. Montana? Yeah, I'm not about to be the first person ever to say that Montana's awesome, so let's move on. It got boring real quick, and while a post-apocalyptic feel is enough to make it more interesting, completely leaving Montana to go to the Mojave, to the Bayou, to a crashed space station? Yes, please. This is such a great addition to the game, and there are ranks here too, so once you clear it, you can come back and do it again, but harder. They also give you a good amount of crafting materials for weapons. There is a crafting system for the weapons, and it seems like the weapons cost a lot, and they do have the option to spend real money to get this stuff, but everything can be unlocked, so it just feels more like you need to be more certain about which guns you want to craft and use. It doesn't feel like they want you to spend money, just that Ubisoft told them to, and they had to. So, gameplay, pretty solid, as one would expect from a Far Cry game, but at the same time, they still managed to improve upon it, and even more so than with Far Cry 5. Next is the audio. And the sounds in this game are a lot better than Far Cry 5, at least the voices. Far Cry 5 had that weird echo on voices, a really weird echo, like everyone was in a cave. This game doesn't have that, thank God. The sound effects aren't bad, decent explosion sounds and gun sounds. It's a little hard to tell where people are when you're out in the wild, where animals are coming from, but I guess I'm not using my headsets and it's just coming through my TV, so who knows, it could have to do with that. And the music is, well,
whenever I fail, you always been there to simply remind me of blowing. You don't see when I'm growing.
Far Cry 5 had that country rock feel. This game has what I would describe as heavy metal rap. There's some Run the Jewels, which is the most normal of the rap in the game, the only thing I can actually stand to listen to when it comes on. There are some oldies, Sam and Dave, stuff like that, trying to go hard for all that Fallout vibe, I guess. Then there's the voice acting. Par for the course, the main characters are good, great delivery of the lines, bad written lines, but great delivery of the lines, and the side characters, on the other hand, are just awful voice actors. They're terrible. It's really enough to pull you out of the game. They're always so bad, so I wasn't expecting them to be good, and I wasn't disappointed, but God, are the side characters' voice actors just terrible. And next we have side quests, collectibles, and replay value. Now this game has some side quests for the guns for hire characters you team up with. Basically, I guess the expeditions are side quests, and those are great. I feel like this game wants looting locations to be a side quest, and if they are, it gives the game plenty to do, plenty of side quests. If not, it doesn't seem like there's a lot on the plate for side quests here. But I'll count it since the game is short and the map is smaller. It does add more to do. But besides that, it is lacking ever so slightly in the side quest department. And collectibles are on the same boat. Music and picture locations of areas before the bombs. Now this game almost wants what you loot to be collectibles, and if they are, then looting every area to get crafting material adds a lot in the way of collectibles. But without them, this game does seem to lack in the way of collectibles. Now I would count all the loot and looting locations as side stuff, and with a short story and smaller than average map, it does have enough in that regard to give this game enough side stuff to keep you occupied. And replay value. Now I wouldn't replay this game except to try it on the hardest difficulty maybe, but you don't really need to start the story over to keep playing after the credits roll. As I said, every outpost and expedition can be redone at a harder difficulty. I believe once you beat 1, there are 2 additional difficulties. The story isn't good enough to replay, but this game did more to make replaying outposts and the expeditions as fresh and enticing as possible. So replay value, not to replay the game, but making what you've already done replayable and rewarding, well, that's a new achievement for Far Cry. Okay, so there's the game. Now before I drop that number and before I point out random issues I had, I want to go over every issue I had with Far Cry 5, everything that disappointed me, and how New Dawn has fixed that issue. So number 1, the story. The story in Far Cry 5 was the most boring, lackluster story to date. 4's was basically 3 but less interesting. 5 was just, yeah. That stupid music box that you just fall asleep to and wake up somewhere else, dumb. Faith, dumb. Just every story cliche that they used before, but none of them worked. This game, New Dawn, had some of those cliches, but it points to where they did work. Someone driving while you're on a turret? Check, but that's basically where it stops. The story at no point made me question what I was doing with my life. The story was still as out there as Far Cry, but it was also entertaining, something Far Cry 5 failed at miserably. Number 2, the boring repetitiveness. Far Cry 5 had the most boring setting to date, hands down, and there was literally nothing to fix that. It was all the same. This game is still in the same area, but after a nuclear explosion in 17 years, the map is unique enough from real life that it does work as an escape from real life. Normal Montana just makes you feel like you're in normal Montana. And for the real kicker, the expedition. The first one is a ship off of a coast. Nothing special, but then I went to the Navajo Bridge in the Mojave and that was insane. This edition added the ability to leave the map to loot a completely unique location, and that really did fix the issue of how boring the main map could be. You know, besides it being Montana. Number 3, the helicopter. Yes, I hated the helicopter in Far Cry 5. I mean, I loved it, but it ruined everything for me. The game is about exploring. Once I unlocked the helicopter, I basically used it to get everywhere. For a game that took pride in its lush scenery, why'd you give me a helicopter to just fly everywhere in a matter of seconds? I honestly didn't even explore a whole third of the map just because I could fly over it and go anywhere I wanted. Now this could be the way that they locked vehicles and getting better vehicles, or if it was just me avoiding them like I just watched an after-school special about helicopters and heroin. If it's the prior, they did lock vehicles and what vehicles you could craft behind how many upgrades you give to it in Prosperity, the main location. However, I wanted better weapons. I wanted more health. I wanted stronger guns for hire. Vehicles didn't catch my eye at all. I only upgraded them earlier than I planned because you have to upgrade so many of the things to progress the story. And I was only progressing the story to beat it so I could do this review. I still have a good amount of the side stuff to do, but no helicopter yet that I've used. Maybe once I have a few random locations left to go, but still, this game did fix the issue I had with the helicopters, for the most part. Well, it wasn't as clear of an issue as it was with 5. Now this is a weird one, but Far Cry 5 just got too old, too fast. Now I know this isn't a full game and it was only $40, but weirdly enough, I think that works real well with this game. I was trying to beat Far Cry 5 just to beat it, just to make it stop. But this game, talk about not overstaying your welcome. This is like an anime with only 26 episodes. It stops before it gets old. Now that's not something I'm expecting of Far Cry games in the future, $40 games that are only 10-20 hours, but it may work better. So not an intentional fix, but it did fix the issue that 5 had of just dragging on forever. Now as for the issues, almost none that are new to Far Cry games. No game-breaking bugs, a guy just moving in a circle without moving his legs. The friendly AI isn't as stupid as it is in 5, but they're still stupid. NPCs, am I right? The stealth isn't as bad as I was expecting, but since stealth is the go-to playstyle for Outposts, you would have expected Ubisoft to do more in the way of stealth. Like if you're going to shoot someone with a bow and arrow or something with a silencer, you should be able to unlock a perk that will let you know if anyone else will see the kill or the body drop. Why isn't that a thing yet? It's so simple. Oh, and of course, this is a Ubisoft game, so expect to get super frustrated during at least one story mission. I swear I'd be more surprised if Ubisoft put out a game without any story mission issues than if Activision put out a game without microtransactions. I don't know what it is or why, but I 100% of the time have an issue with a single player mission in any given Far Cry or Assassin's Creed game, and New Dawn is no exception. Okay, so the rating. Now, keeping in mind that this is not a full game, this is a $40 game akin to a hefty standalone DLC. So the score is based off of what the game is, not what it is compared to a $60 game. The story isn't great, but it isn't as bad as it could have been. 72 out of 100. The gunplay, classic Far Cry, but with a few much needed improvements. 89 out of 100. Could have been lower, but the expeditions were sick. Could have been higher, but no improvement to the stealth gameplay. Audio, basic 70 out of 100. Side stuff and replay value, 82 out of 100. Maybe high, but the addition of ranks to the outposts made up for the lack of collectibles. And with some simple maths, bada bing, bada boom, 78 out of 100, 7.8, 3.9 out of 5. Short, sweet, and to the point. Added some new things that make me think Far Cry 6 won't be as big of a disappointment as Far Cry 5. I've heard people say if you liked 5, you'll like this game, and if you didn't like 5, you won't like this game. But that's very weird because I didn't like 5. And I do like this game. If you played 5 a lot, this might get old. But if you skipped 5 or just breezed through it like I did, despite liking Far Cry in general, you may want to at least think about picking this up. This is one of the better Far Cry games, even if it is a fraction of the length. And that's gonna wrap this one up, folks. Thanks for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Let me know down below what you think about the game, or if you're not gonna be getting it, let me know why. Let's discuss it down in the comments below. Also, subscribe for more great content. This has been another Rebel Reviews. I've been your boy Rebel, double jumping into some sweet takedowns. What? I didn't tell you about the double jumping? And until next time, peace.